Heads up! He's here!
I would have had this video done on day 2 of release, but I was too busy playing this game. I'm glad that was the case, however, because I was originally going to say a bunch of things that were either wrong or incomplete. Now, I'd been waiting for this game because the devs made my favorite game of all time, but I was scared by the marketing into thinking the game just wouldn't be that good. I did pre-order it because, I can only buy I Divine Cybermancy for myself and all my friends once. Speaking of there are 2 things from that game that I miss while playing this game. The first one is that I had nothing that kept you from the fun gameplay, really, besides distance, but you could move pretty fast anyways, so that wasn't a problem, especially later in the game. And there were also no cutscenes, and if you got bored, you could murder everyone in the hub area for a laugh. So the first one is freedom. And the second one is that I Divine Cybermancy had fun melee combat to go with the stupid fun mobility, with 2 ridiculous melee weapons to go with it, and I'm a melee weapons guy, so it's a real shame that the only melee weapon you have is temporary and on a cooldown. The takedowns are useful, but they tend to kill the pace because of how slow they are, and they aren't fun to do after the first 100 of them. So the second one is lack of melee options. The game has a lot of room to improve, however, and could eventually be great. But they make a lot of mistakes, and just like their 2 previous games, the game world wasn't made to match the gameplay, and it just feels unfinished and undisciplined. Though, to be fair, the whole undisciplined thing is one of the reasons I loved I Divine Cybermancy so much. Alright, real quick, let's talk about the things that I really enjoyed about the game. Every single ability has a use. Even the 3 damage-based ones that all just do some form of damage are used in 3 different scenarios, so none of them fall to the wayside. The movement and mobility in this game is exactly what I wanted I Divine Cybermancy to eventually evolve into. I just wish your cyber legs could be upgraded even more. The sound and feel of most of the weapons is pretty darn good. The game was extremely fun on the hardest difficulty setting, because it made me use all of the fun parts of the gameplay to win. And also, the enemies were never too bullet spongy, and they hit like a truck, which is exactly what I want from games. The dog isn't that good and just tends to not work. Every time I look back at it, it had gotten stuck or just didn't do anything. I did get a very fun bug with the dog, however, where he wouldn't move, but he also wouldn't go away, and I just had infinite radar. I'm glad I don't have to use him, but I'm glad that he does have a use other than attack, which is radar. There isn't a whole lot of variety in some of the weapon classes. Like, the heavy guns are essentially the same guns, and in fact, most full auto weapons are the same 2 guns with minor tweaks. I have mixed feelings about weapon customization in this game, because on one hand, I do like having weapon customization in games. But, on the other hand, the only things you'd want or need are accuracy and damage, and beyond that, the weapon's functionality never really changes that much. A lot of the weapons aren't worth using either, because the automatic rifles and grenade launcher do the job very well. The way you get weapons is also kind of strange. It works like a looter shooter, but weapons of the same rarity never have any difference that you can't just change later. It would have made a lot more sense to just buy and upgrade the guns you want instead of picking them up throughout the level. The inventory system doesn't make much sense either. Why do special weapons get 3 gun slots and heavy weapons get 4 when there are 4 very different special weapons and only 3 very similar heavy ones? And why do we need 4 armor slots? The differences with each armor piece is very minor. Okay, don't get me wrong, takedowns are incredibly powerful and useful, but they get really aggressively boring to do after a while. And the fact that you can do them at any time is kind of strange too. So after I beat the game, I went back and looked through all the achievements just to look for an excuse to keep playing, and I noticed that at the very bottom, the rarest achievements were the wall running ones, where all you had to do was wall run for a little bit and then kill enemies while wall running. And I thought that was weird, because wall running, I thought, was a big part of the game. And then I realized that I barely did any wall running, and did even less in terms of wall running combat. I went back through the game and realized that the maps aren't made for wall running combat at all. The places that have a lot of wall running walls and a lot of enemies almost don't exist, and when they do exist, there's usually other walls or pillars in the way of being able to kill many enemies there. There really aren't that many arenas built for wall running combat, which is a shame because it's fun to do. And there's a few skills that make it better, and that, because of this, aren't worth investing into until the game's already over, and it's just to get your super buff. What makes this a tragedy is it can't really be fixed without a rework of the game or adding more maps that are built for it, both of which are kind of unlikely. Though I am hopeful for the second option. This is where the lack of discipline that I mentioned at the beginning hurts the most, because this really is just a tragedy. They added wall running for the sake of having wall running, but didn't add anywhere to really have fun with it. There were 2 times near the very beginning where I tried really hard to explore, but the game just said no. This is the first room of the game, by the way, and the other one happened almost immediately after that. The inventory screen could use an unequip button, because in order to get 2 of the achievements, I had to sell guns that I wanted to use to unequip them. Just having right-click to unequip would work just fine. Or if there is already an unequip button, I have no idea what it is. In the Escher Lab's secondary mission, you can't reach one of the chests because the outsides are blocked off for some reason. There may also be more that I just don't know about. In one level, I don't quite remember which one, the banner wouldn't go away no matter what happened, and continued even when I got out of the level. During this, the chests also just wouldn't stop making the noise that helps you find them. The game really liked to crash whenever I went through Nyarlathotep's elevator. There were other points at which it crashed, but that one is where it happened the most frequently. The amount of game crashes I had numbered in the double digits within my first 24 hours of game time. But then at some point it just stopped happening. I don't know why. I ran the game on medium graphics and didn't have any frame rate issues until the very final level, at which point the game chugged the whole time. Other than that, the game ran perfectly fine. And finally, what is kill style? It's just there. I don't know how to make it go up or down. I've tried different things. I've tried going for accuracy. I've tried going for variety. I've tried both. I have no idea what it does, what it's for, how it works. What is it? This is for sure one of my personal favorite games, but there's a lot of stuff in the way of just having fun with it. So, do I love it? Absolutely, 100%. Should you buy it? Not yet. They need to fix quite a bit before I can comfortably say yes to that, but I'm glad this game was made. It's incredibly fun, and there's a lot of stuff that I like in just one game. Also, compared to I Divine Cybermancy and Space Hulk Deathwing, if this game gets fixed, I would actually recommend it to more people that just like video games in general, instead of people who like highly specific video games. But in its current state, I can't really recommend it to anyone but myself. Now, videos like this aren't what I normally make, but I feel very strongly about this game. So I felt the urge to make a few videos on it that are very different from what I normally make. I do have 2 other things planned on this game, including one of those garbage videos I normally make, and also a guide, since a lot of things in this game aren't well explained, and some things just don't work like they should. However, that is the end of the video. I did have more that I wanted to say, and suggestions I wanted to make, But the stuff I was going to request is not as necessary as fixing the game right now. By the way, if you thought this video was useful, let me know, because I only made this one because I felt really strongly about it. But there's really only one other video even remotely similar to this that I plan on making in the far future. And that's about it. But overall, I think it's a pretty good game. So I'm gonna keep playing. Alright, never mind. This game is a frickin' travesty.